this time in the kitchen with a video to make Alfredo sauce, fettuccine Alfredo, whatever you'd like to call it. It wouldn't be technically fettuccine Alfredo if you're going to use a different kind of pasta. You can use whatever you like with it. It's pretty much, as long as it's a long type pasta, spaghetti, Alfredo, whatever you like. Not Alfredo, excuse me, angel hair, Alfredo, fettuccine, spaghetti, spaghetti, angel hair, or fettuccine. Any of those is fine. Okay, so before we start off cooking, get out a large pan. If you have one smaller than this, then that's okay, but try to get out a pretty large pan so that when you pour in the cream, which I'll show you in a second, it will just cover the pan about less than an inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, about something like that. So try to get that. If not, then you're gonna have to cook it longer so that it won't, so that it'll thicken enough. So get out a pan, then get out another a deep pan like this, and fill it with some water. Put it on to boil, and you're gonna put and midway through, while you're doing this, I'd start the water to boil at the start of when you're doing all this, and then when you're halfway through, I'd put the pasta in, because you can use, if you know how to make fresh pasta, then that's great, you can do that. It'll take less time to cook, but if you use dry pasta from the box, then that'll take like 10 minutes or so. So make sure you do that before you get started on any of this. Okay, now next you want to measure out the following. And by the way, if you miss this or if it's too much to track while you're doing it, I'll leave the process and the quantities of the ingredients down below in the description. So you want 2 cups of heavy cream. I suggest heavy cream, but you can also use light cream, heavy whipping cream, anything sort of around that range. You could use whole milk if you wanted to, but I wouldn't really suggest using any milks. Then measure out a cup of grated Parmesan cheese, then a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic, and a tablespoon of butter. Okay, now back to the stove. You want to make sure you've turned on the eye you're cooking on to medium, a little higher than a medium-high heat. Then you want to pour in your cream. Put your garlic. And your butter. Now, wait till the butter melts. Now, once the butter is melted, make sure you stir it thoroughly, just so the butter is spread throughout the cream evenly. And so the garlic is, the little bits of minced garlic are spread throughout too. And by the way, make sure your garlic is minced, not just a whole chunk of garlic floating in there. I mean, you could do that, but the minced garlic is better because it's still, you can still leave it in the pasta, but I guess you could do chunks of garlic too if you really want it to be real garlicky. Now, the other option too to this is to saute your garlic. Oh, if it's minced, then you're definitely this would be the option to do. The other option to do is place the butter in there, let it melt. I don't know what that was. And then put the garlic in there till it gets till it browns. Then pour the cream in. But this time I just did the cream and the garlic and the butter melt together, so it doesn't burn the garlic, and plus it still gives it the flavor without not as high a risk as burning it or making it too brown. Okay, now you're gonna want to let it maybe raise your temperature a little so that the it starts to really cook and bubble, and you see a lot of steam. You see how it's bubbling now. Well, once it gets really bubbly and it gets frothy around the edges, that's where you want it to be. So when you're doing that, you're gonna want to wait till it gets real frothy around the edge of it, and when it does that, it'll start to thicken, and every so often you're going to want to stir it a little when it does that, and I'll show you that. So I'm back now. I've raised the temperature just like a notch up, you could say, or if your stove doesn't really have notches, then just move it up a little. So it started to froth, as you can see, and it's starting to thicken a little around the edges. So that's what you want. So now just make sure you stir it every once in a while so it doesn't burn on the bottom. And if you have a big enough or deep enough pan, it shouldn't have a risk of boiling over unless your cream, sorry, I'm blanking out there, is very high towards the edge of your pan, towards the side. Then you really need to watch it. But other than that, you should be okay. So just leave that frothing and stir it every once in a while, and you're gonna just stir it, and when you see that it gets thicker, and I'll show you more of that when it starts to thicken, then that's where the consistency you're gonna want it to be when you add the cheese. I just wanted to mention that don't forget about your pasta while you're in the middle of this whole excursion. Make sure you don't cook it for too long, then drain it, because we'll need it for later when we're finished with the sauce. Okay, now let's get back over to the sauce. So you can see now that it's still frothing, and I have stirred it. Make sure you stir it. And don't if it doesn't start to thicken, like you don't see major thickness difference, then that's okay. Just let it thicken for about like 4 to 5 minutes, and then make sure you're stirring it. Then stir it a little, let it calm down before you add the cheese. See, it's getting really frothy. Once it gets like this, then it's definitely okay, even if it hasn't gotten super thick. Okay, just leave that right there for me. Okay, so now get your cheese, add it. Careful, add it a little slowly. Don't just like dump it in there, or it might splash and burn you. Don't do that. Now make sure you stir it, or else the cheese might burn on the bottom. Now just do that. Really stir it. Get it all dispersed real nice. Really make sure it's all stirred through till you don't see any like this. It doesn't need to be chunky like this. Make sure you can't tell that there's really any cheese in there, and it shouldn't. Maybe it'll look a little darker than before, but you shouldn't be able to tell any difference if you stirred the cheese in. And okay, make sure you stirred the cheese in and let it all disperse nicely. Okay. Now, let it cook for a few more minutes after you've added the cheese. Okay. And let it just thicken a little more. And I'll be back when it's thickened and it's ready to be seasoned. Okay, I'm back, and I've really stirred the cheese in, and as you can see, it's definitely a lot thicker than it was before when we first started. See? Now, you really need to be careful when when it gets to this point. Make sure you turn the temperature down to below medium, because you can see it's really bubbling like that. Well, when it gets, if you keep it at the temperature, it was like before, then it's going to really spit, and it's going to spatter, and you could burn yourself. So, really be careful of that. And if you need to, take it off the eye for a second to let it calm down. Now, if you like, you can just kind of forget about this part and add the pasta to it, or you can season it a little with some pepper and a little salt. Now, I would only, my own opinion, only add a little, because you don't want it to be too flavor intense. But you do whatever you want to do, because this is your little thing, and add how much flavor you like. I usually like just some pepper and definitely a little less salt, but that's just me. Okay, that's good enough for me anyways. Now stir it all in, get it all nice and mixed. Make sure you're stirring it when you're doing this, or you're really gonna, even at low temps, it's gonna really collect on the bottom and burn. Okay. Now, add in your pasta and mix it all together. Now, when you're doing this, if you like a lot of sauce on your pasta, then don't add it as much pasta in, because it'll really get a lot of pasta and not enough sauce. But if there's too much sauce for you, and it's just too much sauce and you can't taste the pasta, then the other way around. Now I just want to mention, now I didn't add any parsley in this when cooking it, because I don't have any fresh on hand, but you can add parsley when you're doing this if you'd like to. Now, once you've stirred it up, then you can serve it on a little plate, make it all look nice, lay it out nice, and or you can put it in a container, save it for later, any of that. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video on how to make some great pasta Alfredo, and please like, subscribe, and comment if it turned out well for you. If you have any questions, you can ask.